What's up, people of YouTube? Today we're going to be doing how do I say this? Not a review, but more so a discussion on the Book of Enoch, right? So this translation was done by R.H. Charles. I think this was the updated version of it. I think there was an update of it. I don't know. I read this about a couple weeks ago. I believe this is the updated translation. Yeah, this is the updated translation. Oh no, there's a new introduction. That's what it was. This has an extra introduction. So this translation, I believe, was supposed to be more so in favor of Christianity as opposed to like, I don't know, some type of like non-denominational or Gnostic denomination, whatever. But I read it, and of course, if you're on TikTok or anything like that or Facebook, you always see like, how do I say this? You see a lot of hoopla around the book. So, and I heard about it back when I was younger, and I was always interested in it. You see a lot of conspiracy theorists and occultists, and people that are into the whole esoteric review it. So, or not review it, but talk about it, right? So, at some point, you eventually want to read it for yourself and find out, okay, well, what does this book even say, right? So now, or not now, but about a month back, I was at the bookstores at Barnes and Noble, and I was looking around for different stuff, and that's when I came across this, and I was like, oh shit, finally I get to read it, right? So I read it, and I'm not a theologian by any means, but I do have my own opinion on the book, right? Now, I feel like a lot of people tried to use that book or the Book of Enoch to, how do I say this, disprove Christianity or Judaism or whatever. But my personal feelings on the book really come down to this, right? Again, not a theologian, but my personal feelings on the book or thought process on the book is this. I really think that the book is just ancient Judaism and Greek mythology just combined into one, because when you read the book they talk about Tartarus, and they talk about I can't remember where exactly it's at, but they talk about Saint Michael ruling over chaos and stuff like that. They talk about the sirens, the mothers of the Nephilim became sirens and stuff like that. And I started noticing a bunch of Greek mythology popping up throughout the book. So I was like, it kind of threw me off a little bit, because Tartarus, I believe it's like a level of hell or something like that in Greek mythology. Now, when I was younger, I used to be into Greek mythology. When I was at school, we had the Scholastic Book Fair, and I bought a book on Greek mythology, and because I was really interested in it because of that documentary series on History Channel. It was called was it Clash of the Titans? I think it was Clash of the Gods. There you go. It was Clash of the Gods, and they would talk about Greek mythology like the Minotaur, Perseus, Medusa, all these different Greek mythology stories. And I remember chaos. I believe chaos was like the universe in shambles or something like that, or maybe it could have just been matter without form. I can't remember exactly what it was, but chaos is, I know that's something that comes from Greek mythology, right? And I know that sirens, right, mermaids, come from Greek mythology. All this stuff comes from Greek mythology, right? Now, of course, the book doesn't mention, God and Saint Michael and the archangels and Azazel, I believe it is. And I honestly think that, this is my personal opinion, right? What I think. I just think that Enoch is a combination of Greek mythology and Jewish tradition, because when you look at the time period during that time frame, Judaism and, well, not Judaism, but the Greeks had conquered that area of Judea and Israel and Jerusalem. So the Jews became very Hellenized, right? Because the old Hebrew Torah and Tanakh no longer exist, right? I know that they do say that Saint Jerome did use some old Hebrew manuscripts for the Latin Vulgate, but as far as we know, the Torah and Tanakh that the Jews were reading was the Septuagint, which was Greek, right? So the Jews had completely, maybe not completely, but for the most part, they were Hellenized, right? They practiced more Greek stuff, right? So I think that the Book of Enoch was really just a mesh between Greek mythology and Jewish tradition. That's literally what I think it is. Like, there might be some truth to it, because when you do, when you take other ancient religions and histories and mythologies, they always talk about these gods coming from the heaven and teaching man all this different shit, right? But when you look in, when you read Enoch, it talks about the fallen angels coming and showing humans all this stuff, right? So we know that these gods really weren't human, right? We know that they weren't really gods either, right? They're not omnipotent, they're not all knowing and all seeing, right? But they were very powerful, very, very, very powerful beyond human recognition, right? And it does put a lot of these different myth stories into perspective, but it really like, how do I say? It's really interesting. It's a really interesting book to read. I recommend people read it that are interested in it. It's only, this version that I got is only 142 pages. That ain't shit. 150. That's nothing. And another thing is, if you're a Christian, there's this huge dispute over, I can't remember which chapter it is, but basically the angel showing Enoch that he is the Son of Man, right? And then this translation is supposed to say that Enoch saw the Son of Man, which is, Jesus Christ, right? And I don't speak Ethiopian, I don't speak Greek, I don't speak Hebrew, so I would have to literally learn the languages myself to have an opinion as to whether or not whether this book should even be considered, how do I say, scripture, right? So, yeah, like I said, it's a very interesting book. If you're interested in it, if you've heard whatever you've heard about it on the internet, I recommend just reading it yourself and form an opinion from there. My personal opinion is that I think it's just a mix of Jewish tradition and Greek mythology. There might be some truth to it, but who's to know, right? That's it.